Gaz. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you believed they would never be the reason for your tears? I did. For 5 years I gave him everything. My trust, my dreams, Gaz, and the future I had spent my whole life imagining. I believed every promise he made. Every "I love you," every "we'll grow old together." Then one ordinary afternoon, a single message changed everything. Gaz. It wasn't just that he had fallen in love with someone else. It was the way he laughed at my loyalty, the way he called me too easy to fool. In that moment, my heart didn't just break, it woke up. Gaz. He thought leaving me would destroy my life. He believed I would spend years begging for answers while he moved on without looking back. So I let him believe it. Gaz. I disappeared from his world without a single argument, without a single tear in front of him. While he celebrated his new beginning, I quietly started building mine. Years later, Gaz. Fate brought us face to face again. He expected to see the broken woman he had left behind. Instead, he found someone he no longer recognized. The smile on my face wasn't fake anymore. Gaz. And for the first time in his life, he realized that losing me was the biggest mistake he would ever make. People often ask when love began to feel real. For me, it wasn't during a grand romantic moment, Gaz. It was the little things. The way Ryan always remembered how I liked my coffee. The way he waited outside my office after work, just so we could walk home together. Gaz. The way he made me laugh on the days when everything else seemed to go wrong. When we first met, I wasn't looking for a relationship. I had just started building my career as a graphic designer. Gaz. The pay wasn't great, but I loved creating things. My life was simple, peaceful, and predictable. Then Ryan walked into it. He was charming without trying too hard. He listened more than he talked, Gaz. And when he smiled, it felt like the whole room became brighter. Our first conversation lasted almost 3 hours. It felt effortless. By the end of the night, Gaz. I had the strange feeling that I had known him for years. The months that followed were some of the happiest of my life. We explored little cafes around the city, took long evening walks, Gaz, and dreamed about places we wanted to visit one day. We didn't have much money, but somehow every weekend felt like an adventure. Ryan always made ordinary moments feel special, Gaz. Sometimes we'd buy cheap street food and sit in the park watching the sunset. Other times we'd stay home, make popcorn, and laugh over old movies. Those memories became my definition of happiness, Gaz. After 2 years together, we rented a small apartment. It wasn't perfect. The paint was fading. The kitchen was tiny. The bedroom window made a whistling sound whenever the wind blew. But we didn't care, Gaz. It was our first home. Every Saturday morning, we'd clean the apartment together while music played in the background. Ryan would dance around with the vacuum cleaner just to make me laugh, Gaz. I used to think, this is what forever feels like. He talked about marriage often. We'll have a little house one day, he'd say. You'll have your own design studio, Gaz. And I'll build a business that makes us both proud. Every dream included both of us. Every plan began with the word we. I never questioned his sincerity. Why would I, Gaz? He had never given me a reason to doubt him. When my grandmother passed away, she left me a small inheritance. It wasn't enough to change my life overnight, but it was enough to give me security, Gaz. I wanted to keep it in savings. Ryan had a different idea. What if we invested? He asked one evening. We could build something together. This could be the beginning of our future. I hesitated. Gaz. That money wasn't just money. It was my grandmother's final gift to me. Ryan gently held my hands. Emma, he whispered, I'm not asking you to trust a business plan. I'm asking you to trust me. Gaz. I looked into his eyes. There wasn't even a second of doubt. I do, I answered with a smile. Looking back now, I realize trust isn't dangerous because it's weak, Gaz. It's dangerous because it makes you blind. For a long time I believed I had found the perfect partner. I thought I was building a future with the man of my dreams. I had no idea, as while I was planning our forever, he had already started writing a future that didn't include me. Looking back, the signs had always been there. I just didn't want to see them. As Ryan started coming home later than usual. At first it was once a week. Then it became almost every night. There was always an excuse. The office is busy. A client needs me. As I'll make it up to you this weekend. And I believed him because when you love someone, trust becomes a habit. He also changed in small ways. His phone was always face down on the table. As he smiled at messages but never shared what was so funny. If I walked into the room while he was texting, he'd lock the screen without thinking. I noticed it. But every time I wanted to ask, your voice inside me whispered, "Don't be the jealous girlfriend." So I stayed quiet. One evening, I surprised him with his favorite dinner. Candles were lit. The table was ready. I waited for 2 hours. Then, 3 finally, my phone rang. "I'm sorry," Ryan said. "A meeting ran late. Don't wait for me." His voice sounded distant, almost rehearsed. As I looked at the cold food on the table and forced myself to smile. "It's okay," I whispered. But it wasn't. For the first time, I felt lonely in my own relationship. A week later, something happened that I couldn't ignore. Ryan left for work in a hurry. 10 minutes later, I noticed his laptop was still on the dining table. I picked it up to take it to our bedroom. Just then, a notification appeared on the screen. "I miss you already. Last night was perfect." My heart skipped a beat. I froze. Maybe it was from a coworker. Maybe there was an explanation. I wanted to close the laptop and pretend I'd seen nothing. Instead, my hand moved before my mind could stop it. I clicked on the message. What I saw shattered everything. There were hundreds of conversations, photos, voice messages, plans for vacations, inside jokes, late-night promises. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a recent affair. It had been going on for almost a year. For an entire year, he had been living 2 different lives. One with me, one with her. I kept scrolling, hoping to find something that would prove I was wrong. Instead, every message hurt more than the last. Then I reached the conversation that completely broke me. She asked him, "Does Emma suspect anything?" Ryan replied, "No. She trusts me too much." A few seconds later, another message appeared. "She's too kind to ever question me." And then the sentence I will never forget. "Leaving her will be easy." The room started spinning. I couldn't breathe. Tears blurred my vision. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the disrespect. The person I loved wasn't just lying to me. He was laughing at me, at my loyalty, at my faith in him. 5 years together. Reduced to a joke, I slowly closed the laptop. The apartment suddenly felt unfamiliar. The couch where we'd watched movies. The kitchen where we'd cooked dinner together. The photos hanging on the wall. Every memory now felt fake. I sat on the floor for what felt like hours. I wanted to scream. I wanted to call him. I wanted answers. But deep inside, I already knew the truth. No explanation could erase what I'd just seen. No apology could make those messages disappear. The man I thought I knew had never really existed. That evening, Ryan came home carrying flowers. He smiled as if nothing had happened. "I'm sorry about last week," he said. "I've been so busy." I looked at him. For the first time, I wasn't looking at the man I loved. I was looking at a stranger. He everything my forehead. I forced a smile. Yeah, one simple word, one perfect lie. Because at that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to cry in front of him. I wasn't going to beg him to stay. If he had spent a year hiding the truth, then I could hide mine for just a little longer. He thought I knew nothing. He had no idea. The game had already changed. And before it was over, The biggest surprise wouldn't be his betrayal, it would be my comeback. That night, I barely slept. Ryan lay beside me, breathing peacefully, while I stared at the ceiling with tears silently rolling down my face. I kept asking myself the same question. When did he stop loving me? Was it months ago? A year ago? Or had everything I believed in been nothing more than a beautiful lie? The hardest part wasn't the cheating, It was realizing that every "I love you" I'd heard recently might have been spoken out of habit instead of love. Morning came, but nothing felt normal. Ryan smiled as he poured himself a cup of coffee. "You're quiet today," he said. "I'm just tired." He kissed my forehead, grabbed his keys, and left for work. The moment the front door closed, I broke down. I cried until I couldn't breathe. Not because I wanted him back, but because I was mourning the future I thought we were building together. Every dream, every plan, every promise. It all disappeared in one night. For the next 2 weeks, I acted like nothing had changed. I laughed at his jokes, I asked him how work was going. I cooked dinner. I smiled in our family photos, but inside, I felt completely empty. Every time his phone buzzed, I knew it was probably her. Every time he said he had to work late, I knew where he really was. The lies no longer surprised me. They only reminded me that I had trusted the wrong person. One Saturday afternoon, Ryan suddenly became unusually cheerful. "I have good news," he said. "What is it?" "I've been offered a promotion." "That's amazing." He smiled. "It means I'll be traveling more." I nodded. "Congratulations." Then he added something that made my heart sink. "I'll probably be away for 3 or 4 days next week." I already knew. He wasn't going on a business trip, He was going to spend time with the woman he'd been hiding from me. Still, I wished him luck, because I wanted him to believe I knew nothing. A few days later, while cleaning our apartment, I found a small envelope hidden inside one of Ryan's jacket pockets. Inside was a receipt, not from a business meeting, not from a hotel near his office. It was from a luxury beach resort. 2 guests, 3 nights. The dates matched the exact week he claimed he'd be traveling for work. There was no room left for doubt. He wasn't just lying. He was investing his time, money, and emotions into another life. A life where I no longer existed. I quietly placed the receipt back where I found it. I didn't want evidence anymore. I already had the truth. That evening, Ryan came home carrying expensive chocolates. "I missed you," he said with a smile. Those words almost made me laugh. He missed me. After spending 3 days building memories with someone else, I accepted the chocolates anyway. Not because I believed him, because I wanted him to keep believing I was blind. Sometimes silence is more powerful than confrontation. A week later, everything finally exploded. Ryan walked into the living room and sat across from me. His face looked serious. "We need to talk." Those 4 words were enough. I already knew what was coming. He avoided my eyes. "I don't think this relationship is working anymore." I stayed silent. He continued. "We've both changed. We want different things. I think it's best if we move on." I looked at him carefully. Not once did he mention the other woman. Not once did he admit the truth. Instead, he made it sound as if we had simply grown apart, as if this was nobody's fault. I finally asked, "Is there someone else?" For the first time, he hesitated, then he sighed. "I didn't want you to find out like this." That single sentence confirmed everything. I felt my heart crack, but I refused to let him see it. Instead of shouting, instead of begging, instead of asking why, I simply nodded. "If that's what you want," he looked surprised. "You're not angry?" I smiled through my pain. "No." He probably expected tears, questions, a dramatic argument. Instead, he got peace. What he didn't realize was that my silence wasn't weakness. It was the moment I stopped fighting for someone who had already given up on us. Over the next few days, Ryan packed his belongings. The apartment slowly became emptier. Every box he carried out the door took another memory with it. Before leaving, he stood in front of me. "I really hope one day you understand." I looked at him for a long moment. Then I answered quietly, "I already understand." He frowned. "You do?" "Yes. I understand that sometimes people don't lose the person who loved them. They lose the only person who truly believed in them." For the first time, he had no response. He picked up his final suitcase, walked out the door, and never looked back. The apartment became completely silent. I stood alone in the middle of the living room. No shouting, no dramatic goodbye, just silence, the kind of silence that changes your life forever. That night, I removed every photo of us from the walls. I placed the engagement ring he had once promised would lead to forever into a small wooden box. Then I whispered to myself, "You took my heart, but you will never take my future." At that moment, I had nothing. My relationship was over. My dreams were gone. My confidence had been shattered. But hidden beneath all that pain, a new version of me was quietly being born. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but one thing had become clear. One day, the woman he walked away from would become the woman he could never forget. People think the hardest part of heartbreak is the day someone leaves. It isn't. The hardest part is waking up the next morning and realizing life keeps moving, even when your heart feels frozen. For weeks after Ryan left, my apartment felt painfully quiet. There were no good morning texts, no laughter from the kitchen, no plans for the weekend, just silence. Every corner of the apartment reminded me of the life I had lost. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't beautiful enough. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I should have noticed the signs earlier. Those thoughts followed me everywhere, until one evening, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were tired. My smile had disappeared. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Then I asked myself one simple question. If someone couldn't see my worth, why was I letting their opinion define me? That question changed everything. The next morning I made a promise. I wasn't going to spend the rest of my life waiting for an apology that would probably never come. I couldn't change my past, but I could change my future. So I started with the smallest step. I cleaned my apartment from top to bottom. I packed away every photo of Ryan. I donated the gifts that only reminded me of him. I changed the furniture around. When I finished, the apartment finally felt like my home instead of our home. It wasn't just cleaning, it was letting go. Then I turned my attention to myself. I woke up early every morning, instead of checking my phone. I went for a walk. The fresh air didn't erase my pain, but it reminded me that the world was still full of possibilities. I started reading books about business, confidence, and personal growth. Every page taught me something I had forgotten. Success isn't built overnight. It's built one small decision at a time. After work, instead of crying over old memories, I practiced new design skills. I watched tutorials, I built a portfolio, I entered online competitions. Most of them rejected my work, but every rejection pushed me to become better. For the first time in years, I was investing in myself instead of someone else's dreams. 3 months later, an opportunity appeared. A small startup was looking for a freelance designer. The pay wasn't impressive, but I accepted immediately. That one project led to another. Then another soon. I was earning more from freelance work than I did at my full-time job. It wasn't luck, it was consistency. Every night while others slept, I kept learning. Every mistake became a lesson. Every challenge made me stronger. Slowly, my confidence returned. Not because someone loved me, because I finally respected myself again. One afternoon, my phone buzzed. Ryan's name appeared on the screen. My heart skipped for a second. It had been 6 months since we spoke. The message was short. Hey, I hope you're doing okay. Months earlier, I would have answered immediately. This time, I simply looked at the message. Then I locked my phone, not out of anger, out of peace. Jazz. Some conversations no longer deserve your energy. A few weeks later, I received another surprise. One of my freelance designs had gone viral online. Thousands of people shared it. Jazz. New clients started reaching out. Companies wanted to work with me. For the first time, I felt excited about the future, not because someone had come back, but because I had finally found my own path. Jazz. I remembered something my grandmother used to say. The people who leave your life create space for the life you're meant to build. Back then, I never understood those words. Now, Jazz, they made perfect sense. A year passed. I left my old job and started my own design studio. It was small, just me, a laptop and a rented office. But every project carried my name, Jazz. Every success belonged to me. No one could take it away. One evening, as I locked the office door, I caught my reflection in the glass. I smiled, not because life had become perfect, Jazz, but because I had survived the worst chapter of my life. The woman staring back at me wasn't broken anymore. She was stronger, calmer, wiser, and for the first time in years, she was truly happy. Jazz. I didn't know it yet. But somewhere across the city, Ryan had started hearing my name again, only this time, not as the woman he left behind, but as the woman everyone was talking about. And soon, Jazz, he would realize exactly what he had lost. Almost 2 years had passed since Ryan walked out of my life. By then, everything had changed. My design studio had grown beyond anything I had imagined. Jazz. I had a small but talented team, loyal clients, and projects that once felt impossible. More importantly, I had found something money couldn't buy. Peace. One afternoon, Jazz. I was invited to speak at a local business event. I almost said no. Public speaking had always scared me, but I reminded myself that growth begins where comfort ends. As I finished my presentation, Jazz, the audience applauded. People came over to congratulate me, asking for advice and business cards. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar face. Ryan. He stood frozen near the entrance, staring at me as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. For a moment, neither of us moved. He slowly walked toward me. Emma, I smiled politely. Hi, Ryan. He looked around the room, then back at me. I had no idea this was your company. It is, I replied calmly. He let out a nervous laugh. You've done really well, thank you. There was an awkward silence. Jazz. The confident man I once knew seemed completely different. His shoulders were tense, and the smile on his face looked forced. I've actually been trying to reach you, he admitted. I know. You saw my messages? I did. Why didn't you reply? I looked at him for a second before answering, because I finally learned that not every chapter deserves another page. He lowered his eyes. Jazz. For the first time, Ryan had no clever words. Then he quietly said, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't answer, he continued. The relationship I left you for didn't last, Jazz. It ended the same way it started, with lies. There was sadness in his voice, but strangely, I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't feel angry either. I simply felt free. He looked at me with regret. Jazz. I thought the grass was greener somewhere else. I never realized what I already had. I smiled not to prove a point, but because I genuinely wished him no harm. Sometimes, I said softly, Jazz, people only recognize loyalty after they've lost it. He nodded slowly. I would do anything to go back. I shook my head. The person you left behind doesn't exist anymore, Jazz. Those words hit him harder than any argument ever could. He realized he wasn't talking to the woman who had once depended on his love. He was talking to someone who had rebuilt her life without him. As I walked toward the exit, he called my name one last time. Emma, I'm truly sorry. I turned back with a calm smile. I believe you, then I added, but forgiveness doesn't always mean getting another chance. I walked away without looking back. For years, I thought losing Ryan was the worst thing that could happen to me. That day, I finally understood the truth. I hadn't lost him. He had lost the only person who loved him without conditions, and that became his biggest regret. As I drove home that evening, I kept thinking about everything that had happened. For years, I imagined what I would say if I ever saw Ryan again. I thought I would ask him why I wasn't enough. I thought I would demand answers for every lie and every broken promise. But when that moment finally came, none of those questions mattered anymore. The truth was, I didn't need his apology to heal. I had already healed by choosing myself. When I reached home, I unlocked the front door and looked around my apartment. It was different now. The walls held pictures from my travels, awards from my business, and memories I had created on my own. There wasn't a single reminder of the life I had once begged to keep. I smiled, not because everything had been easy, but because every painful step had led me here. That night, I found an old wooden box while cleaning a shelf. Inside was the small ring Ryan had once given me with a promise of forever. For a moment, I simply stared at it. Years ago, that ring had meant everything. Now, it was just a memory. I gently closed the box and placed it back on the shelf. Not with anger, not with sadness, but with gratitude, because without that heartbreak, I might never have discovered how strong I could become. Sometimes life doesn't break you to punish you. Sometimes it breaks you to rebuild you into someone stronger. A few months later, I received another message from Ryan. It was simple. I hope you're happy. You deserve it. I read the message, smiled quietly, and locked my phone. This time, there was nothing left to say. Some stories don't need another conversation. They just need a peaceful ending. As I stood by my window watching the sunset, I realized something that changed my life forever. Revenge isn't always about making someone suffer. Sometimes the greatest revenge is refusing to let someone else's betrayal define your future. It's waking up every morning with peace instead of pain. It's building a life you're proud of. It's smiling because your happiness no longer depends on the person who once broke your heart. Ryan taught me one lesson without ever meaning to. The people who walk away from your life don't decide your future. Your choices do. So, if someone has ever made you feel like you weren't enough, remember this. Your value has never been decided by the person who failed to see it. One day, the people who underestimated you may look back with regret, but by then, you'll be too busy living the life you fought so hard to build. And that's when you'll understand the most important truth of all. Success isn't about proving them wrong, It's about finally proving to yourself that you were enough all along.